The AFC East is shaping up to be one of the most interesting divisions in football next year, with lots of wildcard players and lots of question marks. I think this is going to be one of the most fun divisions to watch. This is another installment of the team previews that I'm doing for each and every division. Go check out the ones that I've already done if you haven't already. They're all in a playlist. Without further ado, let's get into these teams. So the first team we're going to talk about, we got the Buffalo Bills. The big change for this team, obviously, Stephon Diggs has been traded away. Obviously, Steph Diggs has been the guy for Josh Allen for years. So it'll definitely be interesting to see him with a new group of receivers. Dalton Kincaid, their tight end, is one of the young up-and-coming players in this league, I would say. I think that him being a first-round draft pick, being the first tight end off the board, I think he is a talented player, and I think that, as he develops and grows, he'll find his spot in this offense. They also have a new offensive coordinator. Well, I think he was already the offensive coordinator last year when he took over. But Joe Barry, I believe when he took over is when Kincaid really started to find his spot in the offense. I think that's when he started to shine more later in the season. I'm also excited for Keon Coleman, their first round draft pick. I guess he was an early second last year / this draft. Yeah, this draft. That's more accurate. But I'm really excited for him. I might not be as high on him as a prospect, but I think that this team doesn't necessarily have the expectation of winning a Super Bowl this year. So there's no pressure on him to, be the guy, be the number one receiver right out the gate. And I think that's good for him. Definitely needs the development. For the team though, like I said, I don't think they should be expecting a Super Bowl this year. This offense is much different. They still have James Cook, but adjusting from having Steph Diggs to not having him is going to be it's definitely a real difference there. Curtis Samuel did get added in free agency, and I do like that signing, but Curtis Samuel is not Steph Diggs, so it's going to be a different look in the offense one way or another. And personally, I don't think this defense is as good as it once was. I don't think that's very controversial. They lost Jordan Poyer in free agency. Von Miller's 35. I don't even think he played much last season due to injury. So, to me, this really isn't a contending team. I think that they could have a playoff run, but I think it would take a lot of Josh Allen heroics. Obviously, Josh Allen's there. He's a quarterback. He's dating Haley Steinfeld, so that's like his biggest W of his career, honestly. I think it would just take too much from Josh Allen for them to make it to the Super Bowl and win. So to me, they're kind of like maybe division winner, maybe wild card. That's around where they were last year, and I think they got worse this year. So, there's a chance they get to like the 8th or 9th seed as like a floor. I don't think they go much lower than that, but like I said, the team just isn't what it once was, and that's okay. And that's really my takeaway. Sometimes it's just not your year, and maybe that could be for one reason or another. All those times they lost to the Chiefs, so like sometimes it's just not your year for one reason or another. This year, they just need some time for the young players to develop, including James Cook. Supposedly they're running back of the future, but we'll see. Lots of young players. They don't have to rush anything. I think they should focus on rebuilding the defense at this point and hope that their young pieces on offense can just turn into cornerstones. So the next team in this division that has just hit the news as of the time of this recording, the Miami Dolphins. They're the division favorite, so that would put them in the playoffs, which I completely agree, and I think it makes a lot of sense. They have just re-signed Tua Tagovailoa to a 4-year deal. It's going to be $212 million with 167 million of it guaranteed. From what I read, this is less than what Trevor Lawrence got, but more than what Kirk Cousins got, which is fair. And I don't want to turn this whole thing into a Tua discussion because I will have a whole nother video about quarterbacks later. But what I will say is they could definitely do worse. I'm not a big Tua fan. I think he's in the tier of quarterbacks where you can win with him. You will not win because of him. But that's okay. I mean, there's really only like how many quarterbacks in the league that are going to single-handedly win you games. Like, that's the odds of them finding a quarterback that can do that is slim to none. So if they have a guy that they can work with, a guy that works within the scheme, cool. Like, I'm with it. So I think it's a W for Tua and the Dolphins. I'm not the biggest Tua supporter, but I can acknowledge that he can run the scheme and, you know, he can throw a good ball. So I'll leave it at that. But to keep talking about the Dolphins as a whole, they had some pretty good free agency signings. They got Calais Campbell, who is still an impact player even at his older age. Jordan Poyer, who I just mentioned from the Bills, he went here to the Dolphins, so he's staying within the division. So there's some nice pickups. I mean, the defense is seemingly, getting stocked up. I believe they also drafted an edge rusher. Yeah, Chop Robinson. They drafted him. They still have Jalen Phillips. So there's there's definitely some good players on this defense. I think the O-line issues for the Dolphins have been masked a little bit by Mike McDaniel's scheme, because the way he uses motion, the way he sends his track stars in motion into open space, and the way he, creates diversion with those players is incredible. And it's the reason why players like Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill have game-breaking game-breaking weeks in fantasy. It's just like they're being set up so perfectly. And I think part of that speed, part of that motion is also helping the O-line. And obviously it's helping Tua. So Mike McDaniels is kind of the one making this whole thing go around for me. I know that he has gotten, let's say, I don't want to say figured out, but in the playoffs and later in the season in December, there are statistics showing that the Dolphins offense is worse in those later months of the season. So I don't know if that's specifically a Mike McDaniels issue. To me, the big question mark is how well the Dolphins filled in for the players that left in free agency. One of their best defensive players, Christian Wilkins, he left in free agency. One of their starting guards, Robert Hunt, he left in free agency. Point is, they've just lost a few starters, and I don't know if the people replacing those starters are going to have as good of an impact as those guys. So that's my big question mark, and that can really only be answered once the season starts. However, I do think this team can legitimately go deep in the playoffs because they're talented enough to do it. I mean, this team should absolutely finish at lowest an 8th or 9th seed. They should not go much lower than that. My takeaway is that coaches that actually cater to their players' strengths are just good coaches. Mike McDaniels is one of them. Sometimes the easy thing is the best thing to do. Take your fast player and let him run fast. Like, cool. Like, and we get players like Devon Achane that break fantasy. So despite the lack of playoff success, I still believe in Mike McDaniels. All right, the next team we have the New England Patriots. After trading Mac Jones, this team is once again rebuilding. They are moving on from good old Mac. He's now a backup in Jacksonville. They've drafted Drake May, 3rd overall, and I'll just say I believe in him. He's 100% in need of more development. I think he can be good. He is getting Justin Herbert comps, which is interesting to me. But he's one of those guys who has all of the athletic tools, all the physical tools to be great. Will he start week 1? No. I believe the coaching staff has already said that Jacoby Brissett is much more prepared to be the starter, which, makes a lot of sense. And I think Jacoby Brissett's actually one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the league. Like, I think he should be a starter somewhere. I think he's better than some other quarterbacks that are starting that, we could talk about later. But I like Jacoby Brissett. So as for the rest of this team, they have some young players that are good. Christian Gonzalez at corner. Ramondre Stevenson just signed a 4-year contract. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker are 2 receivers that just got drafted. Matthew Judon and Joshua Uche are still there. Kyle Duggar, they have some players. Some decent players that I think can make an impact. It's just that this team is obviously not ready to compete for anything, especially with Drake May still learning. So, it's a cool rebuilding year. Maybe near the end of the season, Drake May can get in there, just see what he's made of. But yeah, I think the other big thing with this team is Gerard Mayo is now the head coach. The first year without Bill Belichick. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what they can cook up. I'm expecting nothing from this team, really. I mean, is there even really a ceiling with this team? Everyone's expecting this to be like a bottom 5 team. Whatever happens with them, it happens. If they're the worst team in the league, they're the worst team in the league. Whatever. Get your rebuild going. Build back up. You've already won how many fucking titles? Like, you could... you can live the rebuilding life for a few years. And I still think this team I still think it's a good organization. So I think that good organizations find a way to come back. So, it'll take them a few years, but I think the Pats will be fine. And I do believe in Drake May. So my takeaway, there's no shame in rebuilding. Just send the rebuild. No pussyfooting around. I would much rather be a rebuilding team than a purgatory team. So good for the Patriots for getting their rebuild started. Last team in the AFC East, the most boom-bust team in the league. New York Jets. They obviously have potential to be a playoff team. Aaron Rodgers last year out for the season after 4 snaps. So the whole season it was dead in the water immediately. I mean, the clear thing that could hold this team back is health. Almost all their skill position players on offense have had season-ending injuries. Aaron Rodgers, obviously. Breece Hall just got back from an ACL tear last year. Mike Williams has been out for a few seasons. I mean, he's gone out a few seasons. So, I mean, I guess the only ones who are safe or who haven't are like Tyler Conklin and like Garrett Wilson. If something happens to Aaron Rodgers again, I think the backup quarterback's Tyrod Taylor, which I think is at least better than Zach Wilson. I think. I mean, the bar is on the floor, right? Like, but hopefully nothing happens to Aaron Rodgers or Breece Hall or Mike Williams. We could just see what this team was actually supposed to look like last year. One thing they did, I think, was very good. They got some new O-linemen. They signed a bunch of them. They drafted one. And, hopefully they could just keep Aaron Rodgers alive. Keep his old ass up. Let him throw the ball. Hopefully he doesn't, break anything, tear anything, snap anything. And I just want to see what this team actually looks like at full strength. The defense is still good. Like, it's actually insane that the defense alone won as many games as they did for the Jets, because their offense was like abysmal outside of like a couple incredible Breece Hall games near the end of the season. I just want to see Garrett Wilson play with a good quarterback. Is that too much to ask? Like, we're really we're at the bottom of we were at the bottom of the barrel last year with it. So for Garrett Wilson's sake, for this offense's sake, I want to see this team be great, or at least just good. Like, they can play at full strength. They can be a deep playoff team, because, like I said, the defense is still great. It's just the offense was absolutely terrible. So if Aaron Rodgers plays any similar at all to how he's played in the past, then this team should. And, they should make the playoffs. If everything bottoms out, everything's terrible, injuries, O-line injuries, quarterback injuries, wide receiver, running, everything, it's like a bottom 5 team. They're going down. I don't know. It is what it is. Honestly, maybe not bottom 5, but you know what I mean. They're going down. It won't be pretty. My takeaway for this team, Father Time is looming. He is around the corner. He will defeat everybody, except... it's debatable whether he actually got Tom Brady or not, but I mean, Tom Brady declined. I don't know if he ever fell off, but whatever. Father Time is real, okay? That guy was just different, all right? But that is going to do it for the AFC East. Like I said, this is going to be one of the more interesting divisions, between the Bills having a new offense, the Dolphins having the same offense, the Patriots rebuilding, the Jets trying to contend. We'll see what happens with them, but that is going to do it. Leave a comment if one of your favorite teams is here. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your expectations are. Let me know what players you're looking out for on the other teams, if any. Talk some shit if you want. I don't know, whatever you want to do. Leave a like, subscribe, because I will be doing more of these previews for the rest of the divisions. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll be seeing more of me soon. Check out the other previews if you haven't already. Thank you so much again, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.